My name's Chris Tavener. I'm a singer-songwriter from Northwich in Cheshire, and I now live in Manchester. I've been gigging and performing for a very long time, probably around 10 years in total. I've been writing songs and performing across the Northwest and across the UK as well. I've done some touring in Europe. And I mostly write storytelling songs that aren't from my own perspective. I tend to think of them as satirical songs, and they're mostly about characters rather than my own personal perspective. So, I've kind of always enjoyed writing from that cynical angle view of the world. It's more of a social commentary than it is a political standpoint.
All right, so this is another new single that I put out not a long while ago. When I realised something else, that if music never works out for me, I can always become a life coach. And I realised this because a guy on a YouTube advert told me that I could. And what this arsehole, guru was saying was that essentially all you have to do is to tell other people to become life coaches.
I've always been a massive fan of old school comedy, Monty Python being a big influence on me, and the songs of Eric Idle. And then I got into the music of Randy Newman and Loudon Wainwright and Tom Lehrer and some of these musicians that really have an interesting way of looking at the world. And they look at the way people behave and the way people are, and they observe kind of hypocrisies and flaws in the way that the world is. And I love that cynical view of things. So that's where my music comes from lyrically. I've also been a major fan of classic rock, sort of the Beatles and Queen and the Kinks, and sort of old school 60s, 70s music, even 50s rock and roll. So musically, that's where I draw the most inspiration from. That sort of guitar-based rock and roll sound with kind of high Fender guitars and that sort of thing. That's Elvis Costello style as well. That's the kind of music that I enjoy listening to, and the kind of music that I want to recreate and perform myself. So that's the kind of stuff that I enjoy writing and I enjoy recording in the studio. And then I give it that modern flavour with these stories that I think are about 21st century people more than anything. I write about my experiences as a millennial and the people around me. I write about things like travelling millennials and people who are faking cool and social media warriors and that kind of thing, and modern romance. I like to give it that kind of topical view of the world, while also hopefully not just capturing the zeitgeist of the time, but also capturing something that's got some longevity to it, that has a bit of timelessness to the lyrics as well. I think it's difficult for an audience to know how much of the real me they're getting when they're watching me perform live. I think actually I'm not really giving a lot of myself personally across when I'm performing these songs, because I see them so much as characters, as observations that I want to portray in the most realistic way possible, that I end up just kind of like not showing who I am as an artist. Which makes it quite difficult for me personally, because I feel quite detached from my audience in a way, which is a shame, because I'm not giving away myself. I'm not giving much away about who I am as a person, candidly. It's an odd feeling to have for an artist, because often we associate musical artists with how they relate to our own lives, and we enjoy listening to certain musical artists because they speak to us, because they seem like they relate to us. But I'm doing that in quite an odd way, I think, in this kind of cynical way of writing about these 21st century characters. So I want people to relate but not necessarily show who I am as a person, because I think actually I'm quite a closeted person. I'm quite shy ultimately off stage, and probably don't feel all that comfortable and confident showing who I am as a person. That's probably why I write the sort of storytelling songs that I do, because I don't want to give too much away of myself as a person. So it's a bit of a bit of an inside knowledge into my inner psyche there. Well, this next song requires a little bit of a story. So a few years ago, I was on a little interrail trip for a couple of weeks through Central Europe, and I realised something pretty profound. I had a realisation of sorts. I realised something that a lot of travelling millennials realise, that travellers are actually better than normal human beings. Seems to be a lot of pushback to that viewpoint, and often comes from the older generations who maybe don't fully understand the full travelling millennial ethos. And I wanted to write a song that would bridge the gap between the generations, maybe describe it a little bit better. And this is the song that came out. This is called Postcard Home. And I imagine you'd sing this as if you were singing to your mum or your dad or your family friend or something, very delicately put. Here goes. Dear old people, we don't really think that you understand us. We can't get off on an office that doesn't really speak to us, and we're sorry that everyone thinks we're inherently selfish, when all that we've ever wanted is all that we've ever wanted, tour the world and live our lives in permanent bliss. If you're not into travelling, then you might as well be dead. That's a fact, it's what Columbus would have said. Dear old people, it's not like you had a dream of your own once, and being married with kids isn't what everybody wants. We want hammocks, but we want them inside so we don't get our phones wet. 'Cause we are digital nomads, and we are carving our own path. We can change the world in ways you won't ever get. If all you do is run hotels, or you pilot all our planes while we meditate and wait for Insta fame. Hashtag Insta fame. Dear old people, we just want to write hypothetical letters and be bohemian artists, making the journey last forever. Life's for living, doing Malibu shots on the back of a hippo, and ski while eating a croissant. Review the tropical restaurants that we only went to 'cause of all the reviews. We want to help wash elephants even if they wash themselves. Most of all, we want to truly find ourselves, and to never be like anybody else. Yours sincerely, all the traveling millennials. So in the future, I hope to continue to be writing more songs and releasing an album, hopefully in the future, a studio album. I've released a live album and a bunch of EPs, but I've never released a full studio album. I'd like to do that one day in the future. But also, I've been performing on the live music circuit for a very long time, and I think in the future I'd really like to do some some other different things. Maybe write something for a musical, get involved with other live musicians' work, performing for them in a session capacity, and also just writing more commissions for people as well. I've written some work that I'm really proud of that has been for other people. I wrote a song for Great Ormond Street Hospital, and I wrote another song that was featured in a feature film. So I'd like to work as a musician in that way as well. I think the music that I write especially has been since it's so character based, it's so storytelling, that it really lends itself to musical theatre as well. I'd maybe like to go down that avenue and to write more music that has a story in addition to the music. So yeah, I like to think the future is fairly open, and yeah, I'm very much hoping to continue writing for a long time to come.
And whether what I matters much, or walking through this world can be confusing. There may not have a purpose here as such, or there's no travel guide and no blueprint. Life's a marathon and not a sprint. I don't need trophies to succeed. I've got all the time I need. Maybe I should listen up and take a hint. Maybe I should just shut up and go to sleep. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Cheers, guys.